Welcome back, True Seeker. It is Thursday, July 11th, 2024. We often call it 35 Thursday. First baseball game on the slate today was the Tigers hosting Cleveland, and sure enough, Cleveland picked up their 35th loss. We're going to talk about 35 Thursday, though, in regards to the death of Shelley Duvall, mostly remembered from The Shining, the Stanley Kubrick film where Jack Nicholson's the big star, about cabin fever. A writer snowed in and then loses his mind and takes it out on his family. If you've never seen this film, The Shining, it's very famous and very dark, and it's about evil. But we're going to talk about the significance of her death today at age 75 in light of the big star of the film, Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicklaus is the golfer. I've been having that problem my whole life, calling them both back and forth the wrong surname. But Jack Nicholson, the Hollywood actor who for years sat courtside at Lakers games, he is 87 right now. And we've been talking about these rituals this year that keep bringing these numbers together, 75 and 87, in the time of the Superior General being 75 years old, and in the time of the first Jesuit Pope, Pope Francis, being 87. Big theme this year. And I don't think this is an accident. And I do worry a little bit for old Jack that his name could be coming up next. But again, Hollywood, death, the world of entertainment in general, very specific number patterns. I mentioned the 75 and 87 thing. If I was sharing this with somebody on the street, that's probably like the 10th thing I might bring up. I brought it up first because it's just something we've been documenting all year for people who follow the work daily. But for a new person, that's not where I would begin the conversation. Where I'd begin the conversation is right here. Her full name in Gematria, Shelley Alexis Duvall, equates to 75, and she's dead at 75. And we just see this stuff day after day in Hollywood. The name she went by, Shelley Duvall, has Gematria of 193. She's dead on the 193rd day of the leap year. And again, if you're new here, there are 4 base ciphers of the English language. The alphabetic order: A is 1, up to B is 2, up to C is 3, up to Z. The 26 letters, 26. The alphabetic order in reverse, just Z is 1, back to A is 26. Both orders with numerology. You learn these 4 ciphers, you see the way the rituals unfold perfectly day after day. And it's way outside of the realm of coincidence every single day. Now, there's several things that could be said about the 193rd day of the year, but we'll start right here. Again, it's the 44th prime number. The Shining, the film, just turned 44 years old. It came out in 1980, May 23rd. May 23rd, 1980, debut in theaters. The word shining alone has Gematria 44. 193, again, is the 44th prime number. There are so many examples of where 193 and 44 come together. But here's the latest. And keep in mind, she's dead in the time of Cancer, 4 days after her birthday. She just celebrated her birthday, July 7th. Born 7/7, dead 7/11, 4 days later. Yeah, it's funny that we associate 7/11 as this special numerical pairing, largely because of dice and gambling. There's been a lot said about the use of numbers in the film The Shining. There's a documentary on it. But anyhow, she's dead 4 days after her birthday in the time of Cancer. Remember, Cancer's the 4th astrological sign, and in Gematria, Cancer equates to 44. You had the moon landing in the time of Cancer. Armstrong equals 44, like space. There's actually something to say about that, because there's a theory that Stanley Kubrick has something to do with filming the moon landing. Again, we're going to get into things like how Stanley Kubrick died 2001 days before, he died 666 days before the start of 2001. Again, he did the film 2001: A Space Odyssey. We'll bring it all together here. But anyhow, The Shining came out May 23rd, 1980. That was the 144th day of the leap year, just like this year, a leap year. It was the 144th day. CNN, they posted their article about her death at 1:44 p.m. Eastern time. If you're new here, very special number to the Jesuits, who again gave us the calendar, who gave us the language as we know it, who've synced these systems up, where it's all tracing back to. Now, a moment ago, we looked at how the word shining alone is 44. The true title of the film, though, is The Shining. The keyword, obviously, shining, just like I see it in the movie poster. Shining's a lot bigger than the. But the true title is The Shining. She's died 49 days after the 44th anniversary of the film. You could also say, if you count the span, that she's died on the 50th day since the anniversary of the film. It's either 49 days later or it's the 50th day. Shelley Duvall, her name in the base ciphers is also 50. So span of 50 days from the release. And again, her name also 193, going with being dead on the 193rd day of the year. As for Jack Nicholson, from his last birthday, April 22nd, to today is 80 days later. Shining alone also has Gematria of 80. If you just use the alphabetic order, it's 80. If you use the alphabetic order with numerology, it's 44. And in light of it being Thursday, maybe 6 months ago, there was the destruction of a satanic shrine in the Oklahoma Capitol. And I want to go back and say the man who destroyed it was 35 years old. And we were talking then again about 35 Thursday, about how the words Satan and Baphomet, the Baphomet's used as the symbol of the Church of Satan. Satan and Baphomet are words that have Gematria of 80, like what we're talking about here, and 35, going with this coming on a Thursday. And again, this film, The Shining, is about how something evil gets inside Jack Nicholson's character and makes him want to kill his family. And we get stories like this in the news all the time, right? And yeah, there's a lot more to say about all these things. If you've missed my past work on Rosemary's Baby and Charles Manson and that whole scene, just there's so many parallels between what they do in Hollywood and what becomes the major news stories that also live in everybody's heads. It's like these people know how to get in the minds of the masses. That's their end game, to be in people's minds, controlling their thoughts and ideas and ambitions and wants and desires. It's just like, and again, they do it through Hollywood and news and all the forms of programming. I mean, inside the average American's head, the typical person knows about The Shining. They know about Charles Manson. They know about these things. These are things that they wanted people to know about. Maybe the younger generation, 20 and under, maybe The Shining is something that's rarely talked about because, again, it is from the past. But if you're probably 30 years or older, you definitely likely you probably know the "Here's Johnny" line and everything. So from Stanley Kubrick's death anniversary, which is March 7th, to this death is exactly 18 weeks later. Stanley Kubrick's name equals 171, which is the 18th triangular number. You might remember we talked about the same thing with Jerry West. Jerry West died in that big 18 ritual, and his full name, Jerry Allen West, 171. He went 1-8 in championships in his career, and he died right before the Lakers got surpassed by the Celtics, who won their 18th championship. So Stanley Kubrick has the 171 thing. Again, that's the 18th triangular. It's exactly 18 weeks after his death anniversary. And remember, 18 special to the Jesuits. IHS, their acronym, has the Gematria of 18, just like the word sun. And again, 18, special number. For a lot of countries, it's the recognized date of adulthood. In Jewish numerology, 18 represents the meaning of life. The number in Revelation, 666, you add it up, it does equate to 18. Stanley Kubrick, who did The Shining, who did 2001: A Space Odyssey, did die 666 days before the first day of 2001. If you've never looked into Stanley Kubrick, some people speculate that he did the moon landing. And check this out. Stanley Kubrick's name in Gematria equates to 207, right? Today's 207 days after the Pope's birthday. There's a documentary out there. I think it used to be on Netflix. It might still be there, but it's breaking down The Shining. And he shows how one of the rooms that they focus on in the Shining, in the theory of that documentary, is that it's pointing actually to the moon landing event. And he explains why. But think, again, the moon landing is the 20th day of the 7th month, typically the 201st day of the year. Neil Alden Armstrong equals 201, like the Jesuit order, like Order of Illuminati, Again, big number with the Jesuits in their history. Pope Francis, his birth name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, 201, the first Jesuit Pope, the first to live in Suite 201. So the moon landing on the 201st day of the year on 20/7. And as we've learned, the Jesuit priest who wrote Art of War, again, we're going to reinvent history in that way. And I think we're reinventing it in an honest way. People always say, no, a Jesuit priest translated Art of War. No, I'm pretty sure he wrote the thing because there's no historical record of a Sun Tzu existing anywhere ever. But there is a long history of the Jesuits and warfare and their logo being the sun. And again, this Art of War was published right before the U.S. was founded and has been at war ever since. And you think about NASA also, it was a military operation. NASA is the military. But yes, 207, huge with the Art of War thing. 207 is what we were looking at on TFR on October 4th, saying how this 207 connected with October 7th in history, Putin's birthday. On October 4th, the day of the 10-4 alert, we were saying how in 3 days on Putin's birthday, there was this big 207 connection. And then sure enough, the war popped off in Israel, the land of 201. Again, it was all Jesuit. On Putin's 71st birthday, 71 days before the Pope's birthday, 207's coded all over the place. You just had the D-Day meeting last month, June 6th, all the world leaders gathering on the anniversary of D-Day. And that was 207 days after the Superior General's birthday. And then one of the veterans died there at age 102, like Art of War equals 102, like World War. Like the American Civil War, again, beginning on the 102nd day of the year, and Lincoln blaming it on the Jesuits, and 9/11 being simulated with Operation Amalgam Virgo, June 1st, 2001, 102 days for the 9/11 attack, with Osama bin Laden's face on the cover when Al-Qaeda equals 102 as well. Anyhow, Stanley Kubrick, master filmmaker, right? So, like, where does he fit in with Art of War? Here, to make a point, Hollywood. When Bill Clinton, Jesuit educated, was president. Remember, Bill Clinton went to Georgetown. Georgetown equals 42 like Jesuit. He was number 42, also the 42nd governor of Arkansas. A lot of Jesuit shenanigans when he took office. 93 World Trade Center bombing. Oklahoma City Day on Ignatius of Loyola Day, April 19th, the most 201 ritual there ever was. But Bill Clinton, remember, he had the affair with Lewinsky, and it was all about the blue dress and the stain, and he never had sexual relations with that woman, and does a blowjob count as sex? The new national debate. That's the one we were all having in middle school. But hold on, train of thought lost. Oh yeah, the movie was put out around that time by Hollywood. Wag the Dog. If you've never seen Wag the Dog, you have to watch this movie. It's so important. It's so important to understand just like the level of mockery. Because what that movie's about, and it was, I think it came out just before the whole Monica Lewinsky thing. I have to go back and double check. Pretty sure it was right before the whole Monica Lewinsky thing. Wag the Dog. A president has a sexual affair. I don't even know if affair is the right word. It's more like he has sex with a little girl. He has sex with a Girl Scout. I think they call them the Firefly Girls in the movie, but they're supposed to be like Girl Scouts selling cookies. So the president sleeps with like a 12, 13-year-old girl. And that's that's becoming the news story that this happened. And they say, oh my God, he's up for re-election in this. How are we possibly going to get re-elected with this being the story that the president's sleeping with 12-year-olds? It's kind of sick to think about how this is the movie is. And then remember when Trump beat Clinton and they're bringing up, the whole pedophile and she's the biggest pimp in the world. There's a rhyme and a reason to all these jokes. And of course, Trump also Jesuit educated and in this fraternity, and he's the proud pussy grabber and the election versus Clinton. It's all part of one big sick joke. And most people just want to be part of the punchline instead of see through it. But anyway, what happens in the movie after this affair is they say, well, how are we going to get him reelected? And then they come up with the idea. They say, oh, you cannot remove a wartime president, so we need a war. But they don't want to create a real war, so they create a war that's only existing on screens and news. And the way they come up to do that, and by the way, it's Robert De Niro who's in that movie as well, in light of what's going on with him and Trump right now. But Robert De Niro is like the master planner of the idea. He comes up with the plan of the war and how they're going to do it. They go out and they get the best director in Hollywood, so like a Stanley Kubrick. And then they just have him film scenes that they put out as propaganda. And then the other part of that film is these guys who are in the government, who have access to files, they have the ability to manipulate history and add on old historical facts to the historical record that never happened, all for the sake of making a new case. Again, it's just about how to. It's like it's supposed to be a comedy of like a way over the top political cover up, but in a way you like look at how that happened, and shortly after that, you in the time of Clinton, you had like see. Okay, hold on. The other part about that movie is where they make the fake war. I forget what exact country they choose in the movie, but it's super close to Bosnia, and there ends up being the war in Bosnia while Clinton's in office that the U.S. had some involvement in, and it's like, okay, wait a minute, the president's going through a sex thing, a war on almost the same part of the world. They've been making a mockery of us this whole time with all these stories of predictive programming. But if you've never seen Wag the Dog, watch that movie. And to ruin the ending for you, at the end when they pull it off, the director who made that propaganda, he wants to come out and he wants to tell people what really happened, and he wants credit for how good he was at making that fake propaganda to make everybody believe the war. And he's like losing his mind over his ego. And so they just send out like the CIA hit squad to just take care of him, and then they're breaking the news about, I forget how it ends at the end, like they're breaking the news that he died overnight of a heart attack, tragic passing. But yeah, it's just anyway. So it just reminds me of this too, with the rumors of Stanley Kubrick and the moon landing, and again, the moon landing was about winning a military race with Russia, right? And remember, the Jesuits were preserved in Russia by Catherine the Great, who preserved the order with 201 Jesuit priests, yada, yada, yada. All these countries are part of the script. But no doubt that's why the moon landing is that day. Military operation, high Jesuit ritual. And again, here's arguably maybe Stanley Kubrick. I could be wrong about this. I want to say probably the most. He has so many. I guess he has a lot of big movies, but I probably feel like, at least in my lifetime, I was born after these movies even came out. I'm born in 1983, but it seems like out of all of his collection of movies, it seems like the most watched might be The Shining by people. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Again, almost everybody knows about 2001: A Space Odyssey, A Clockwork Orange, Eyes Wide Shut, the last film he did with Tom Cruise, of course, Full Metal Jacket. I've actually never seen Doctor Strangelove, but I know that's a huge title. So yeah, he has monster movies. And I remember when I started at Arizona State, I had a sociology professor, and he really encouraged us to watch A Clockwork Orange, and then eventually later that semester he brought in and showed part of the film. Anyway, and that film's about mind control. Of course, 2001: The Space Odyssey came out in the infamous year of 68. But okay, again, just the Pope 87, the Superior General 75, Jack Nicholson 87. Remember, the phrase number of the beast has that 87 in it, just like the Catholic Church as well. Just like Ignatius of Loyola, the founder of the Jesuits, his name equals 87 and 75. Going with the first Jesuit Pope being 87, the Superior General being 75 years old. They'll still be that way for months ahead. The Superior General's 76th birthday is November 12th. The Pope will turn 88 on December 17th. Assuming they don't have a headline before then. But yeah, again, I think that's a part of this. Absolutely. Her being 75 and Jack being 87. That's the husband-wife in the film. And again, you guys, is dead 4 days after her birthday. 4 associated with death. Cancer, the 4th sign. Dead in the time of Cancer. Moon landing in Cancer. Again, moon landing in the year 69, like Cancer's astrological symbol 69. But just simple. Shelley Alexis Duvall, 75, dead at 75. First and last name. Reverse cipher, 193. 193rd day of the year. 44th prime, right after the 44th anniversary of the film. Again, 49 days after the anniversary of the film when The Shining's 49. A younger person who's dead is a childhood actor from the show Elf, about the alien. Used to be a big show on TV when I was a kid. Dead at 46. Again, Genesis 46 about sacrifice. Sacrifice equals 46 like Catholic. 46 books in the Catholic Old Testament. It begins with Genesis. It says he was found dead on June 13th. That's the day leaving 201 days left in the year. Remind you of Beau Biden, dead at 46, 201 days before the Pope's birthday, and then Joe elected 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, inaugurated on the 201st day of the nation's age, and the whole ceremony with the same Jesuit priest who did the funeral for Beau Biden, who's got the 201 name as well, used to be the head of Georgetown, Leo Jeremiah O'Donovan. He started his acting career in 86, they mention. We know blood sacrifice equals 86. This news broke on a Wednesday. Remember, Wednesday is named after Mercury. Mercury equals 86. A few weeks ago, it was Jerry West dead at 86 on a Wednesday. Yesterday, it was the Pirates pitcher falling to 86 and 86 for his career on a Wednesday. Again, from news to sports, you'll see the same number patterns. They broke the news on 10/7 like 107. Ritual sacrifice equals 107. The news was revealed 27 days after his death. Ritual 27. The news breaks 34 years after the show concluded. Murder 34. He died from vehicular heart stroke. I didn't even decode that. There might be something more to it. Cause of death is still pending. He died 18 days after his birthday. Again, that IHS thing, that sun thing. Died in a hot place, Phoenix, where the basketball team's called the Suns. His character name was Brian Tanner. There might have been more to that as well. He died 81 days after the anniversary of the show's end. And that's another ritual number. Ritual's got that 81 connection and the 27 connection, like they, again, announced the death 27 days after his passing. But so often in the world of celebrity, just so many young, tragic deaths. I mean, again, I always make the point, you guys have a pretty big family because my mom's side has a ton of siblings, and a lot of them, her siblings had a ton of kids. And in a way, I think our family's been very fortunate because the only people who've died are my grandfather and my aunt and my uncle who were married, but only one of them I had blood to. But they partied. I mean, it's understandable why they died so early because they just partied so hard. They just drank and smoked so much, and just that's the way they live life. But other than that, man, everybody's still ticking. And the thing is, like, they partied hard. A lot of my family, though, they don't party as hard as them, but they've been drinking and smoking a lot of their life and not really taking care of themselves. And I just think, like, how many are getting pretty old now. I mean, several of them are in their, 70s, later 70s. Yeah, and it's just, you compare this to the world of celebrity. I mean, if it's like the ratios in the world of celebrity, you'd think like half the family would be gone by now. It's just, I don't know how more people don't blink an eye at this. And once you recognize the numbers and it's just the same numbers coming up all the time. By the way, I didn't even mention just a number that I almost always talk about with death. The word death, murder, killing, RIP. They all equal 38. All of those words. From the anniversary of the start of the show, September 22nd, to his passing, exactly a span of 38 weeks. Death, murder, killing, RIP, all 38. I wrote down the 266 day part because of the Jesuit connection, but didn't even mention the 38 weeks. 266 days is 38 weeks. Yeah, so RIP to him. And then, again, yesterday, George Clooney. Isn't it funny how yesterday we were talking about how George Clooney had that film, The Ides of March. The Ides of March is about, the Senate killing Caesar. And remember earlier this year, we were talking about how Netflix put out the Shirley Chisholm movie on the Ides of March. And she became the first Black woman to be in the Senate in 1968. She went to Columbia like Barack. She has all these parallels with Kamala and Michelle, like we talked about back when it came out. We're talking about how that was 56 years ago. This year, the election's on the day, leaving 56 days left in the year, and Obama won the 56th presidential election with Biden. And again, Clooney's got that 5-6 birthday, May 6th, but he did the Ides of March film. To remember the Ides of March, remember the Roman Senate killing Caesar. But then later that same day, then the first senator comes out against Biden. It's like, wow. So following George Clooney and what we were saying about his Ides of March film and the release date of it and just the history and what they've been doing this year, then later in the day, the news breaks that the first senator comes out against Biden, and now more senators have come out since. It's just, again, if you've never seen the movie Team America World Police, you know, like the puppet, live action puppet movie that's a spoof of the U.S.'s militaristic ways worldwide. If you've never seen that, what runs the world in that movie is called the Film Actors Guild. The Film Actors Guild. And all over the movie in big abbreviations is just, what would be the abbreviation for Film Actors Guild? Would it be FAG? So FAG runs the world. And again, you just like look at what's happening to the world and what's being promoted at the top of everything right now. I mean, anyhow, let's talk about the latest senators and Congress people to come out against Biden. This Blumenthal. He wasn't the first senator. Hold on. So much to keep straight. I know last night we covered the first senator who said he wanted proof from the Biden camp that they could win the election. And then Blumenthal came out and did the same thing. Blumenthal is, look at this. Okay. He is senator in Connecticut. And remember, Connecticut is a state that has gematria of 46, like Joe Biden, number 46, like JFK, the only other Catholic president dead at 46. We just talked about why that number matters, the Al factor. His name, Richard Blumenthal, equals 101, like Ides of March. Ides of March also equals 61. And remember, the George Clooney thing started on the 61 date numerology yesterday. Okay. Blumenthal used to be in office in the 145th district. Remember, there's 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament. There's 46 books in the Catholic Old Testament versus 39 in the Protestant. Thus, the 145 more chapters. But Catholic in Gematria equals 145 and 46. Again, evidence of who coded out the language, synced it up with the calendar. Again, it all goes back to the Catholic Church. The evidence is everywhere. But again, some people just want to argue that it only matters if it's Hebrew. It's like, okay, are you a Neanderthal? We're talking about what the Catholic Church did based on what came before it. You know, a whole bunch of examples in the world of somebody seeing somebody do something and then improving upon it or taking it and making it a little bit different. Again, these things aren't too hard to understand. Look at the Jesus story. It's been recycled into like 50 different religions. Anyhow, Richard Blumenthal. Notice when he took office in the time of Obama Biden, right? In the time of Obama Biden, he took office. And again, used to be in the 145th district, just these little Catholic fingerprints. Look at what day his birthday is, you guys. The 44th day of the year, Lupercalia. Remember, Lupercalia has that gematria 44. That was the day that Antonin Scalia croaked out of nowhere in the time of number 44. But born on the 44th day of the year in 46. Joe Biden equals 44, was the VP to number 44. Now he's number 46. Look at Blumenthal's age. He's 78, that magic number right now. Again, when Beau Biden died, the Pope was 78. When Joe Biden took office, he was 78. Trump just turned 78, also born in 46. 78 tarot cards, or excuse me, 78 tarot cards, and the top cards are Trump cards. But born in New York, not far from Connecticut, where he's the senator. And look at where he went to school. Harvard, Trinity. We were just talking about Trinity's 201 years old right now. And then Yale, which is 322 years old right now. But what a trifecta schools Blumenthal went to. Yale, the one with the most secret societies. Trinity, the one that's clearly got some kind of secretive Catholic alliance that's right in your face with the name Trinity. And then, again, the Ivy League schools. I'll just remind you, the word school equals Jesuit order. Everyone's teaching their curriculum at the end of the day. They're his story. based on their calendar through their language. Okay, so this is something that stood out to me. The day before Obama's 63rd birthday, it'll be exactly 163 months since Blumenthal took office. And remember, Barack Hussein Obama equals 163, and 163 is the 38th prime. And August 3rd, the day that's going to line up, the day before Obama's birthday, that day can be written 8-3 or 3-8. Remember, election equals 83 and 38. The word murder is also 83 and 38. Like the song Murder by Numbers is about how killing's the sport of the elected. Might remind you of the rituals they did with Colorado earlier this year with Trump being taken off the ballot and then putting back on the ballot in a big 38-43 ritual. But then you also had that shooting at the court exactly 44 weeks before the election. It's also 708 weeks and days. The 708 stands out a bit in light of him being 78. But remember what's so special about 38. It's very much connected to death, but it's also very much connected to the nation's capital. Yes, the word election is 38. DC's on the 38th parallel north. Again, this whole thing of letters and numbers comes from Kabbalah, which equals 38. The word Jew is 38. I'm pretty sure he must be Jewish with the name Blumenthal. And then his wife's got a Jewish name as well. Gematria 38, English 38, energy 38, Pentagon 38, killing 38, murder 38, death 38, RIP 38, monolith. The word monolith equals 38. The Washington Monument's essentially a monolith. And people, again, what is it about the monolith? Why is that symbol at so many prominent places, including the 3 independent city-states? Is there something more special about that? Again, the word energy 38. Do these people know how to control energy to get people to bow down to their authority? Seemingly they do. I don't know if it's because of the monolith, though. Even doing this, the coding, the spells and spelling, doing this every day, it's like, is this why people bow down to their authority? Do these tactics day after day, do they really work? I mean, again, the answer is there's a reason they do it. All right, so this other person who came out, Peter Welch. Peter Francis Welch. Where did he go to school? He went to Holy Cross, Jesuit school. Holy Cross, went to Pope Francis Preparatory School. It's now, I was going to say, how was it called Pope Francis Preparatory School? And he's going there. What in the world? Is he like from Back to the Future? I see it's now called Pope Francis Preparatory School. Born in Springfield in 1947, the year of the CIA. Welch spent a year in Chicago as a fellow at the Robert F. Kennedy Center for Justice and Human Rights. Remember how RFK Jr. got in the race 144 days after the Superior General's birthday? His dad dead at 144. His uncle dead 144 days from meeting with the Pope. This year, Biden meets with the Pope 144 days before the election on Trump's birthday. But, yeah, all these little characters they got. Peter Francis Welch. Just the name he goes by, Peter Welch, equals 115, like the day of the election, reminding us that Trump took office with the 115th Congress. Remember, this upcoming Congress will be the 119th, and in the last election, it was called for Trump on 11/9 while he was on 248 electoral votes, and now the country's 248 years old. Okay. Him going against Biden came 555 days after he took office. It's a number that stands out in D.C. Again, he's calling for somebody new. We've pointed out, this is my speculation for like over a decade now, that the reason the Washington Monument's 555 feet tall and the reason the Pentagon has 5 sides with 5 floors above ground and a 5-acre court in the middle, all these 5s, is because in Gematria, the word new breaks down to 5 plus 5 plus 5. And if you're saying, how's that? It's because N is the 14th letter. The numerology of 14 is 5. E is the 5th letter. W is the 23rd letter. The numerology of 23 is 2 plus 3 is 5. So all those letters break down to 5. He's calling for a new candidate 555 days after taking office, and again, in the land of 555. And, yeah, again, just the Masonic city. All his number etched on the temple. The Pythagoras quote, the 4th book of the Bible numbers. 5's important to the Torah, the 5 books of Moses. 5's biblical as well. But keep in mind, USA in Gematria breaks down to 5 as well. USA, small way is 5. Five's very specific to us as humans. We got 5 digits on the hand. They make a lot of things possible that other creatures cannot achieve. Okay, so yeah, the Richard Blumenthal thing. I feel like there was one more piece I wanted to make about that, though. Let me see. What was it about Peter Welch? He's close to Bernie Sanders, who's been a big front runner in the party. It's actually this other congressman's what I was thinking of that I need to bring up. Okay, so again, just another day of more fallout, more speculation that Obama's quietly orchestrating in the shadows to get Biden to step down. I'm going to come back to what they encoded. I want to say this thing about, okay, so this congressman who came out against Biden, Bradley Scott Schneider, about to turn 63, just like Obama. Him and Obama are going to turn 63 next month in August. Again, JFK shot in 63, was the 44th term president. Obama, number 44, fateful number. MLK got it on 4-4. RFK broke the news about MLK. Then he gets it in the same year. Biden with the same birthday as RFK. All these historical parallels and patterns we've been talking about. But they're both going to turn 63, like 1963. This guy represents Chicago. I mean, you associate Chicago with Obama. He gave his acceptance speech there. They said this man was the 11th congressperson to come out against Biden. Remember, the word black equates to 11. Biden made his point that he was going to have the first black woman as the VP. He's going to put the first black woman on the Supreme Court. It's been very much about race and black with Biden. And Biden put a lot of black people behind bars with his 94 crime bill, and then likes to act like he's a person who loves black people when his policies, like a lot of government policies, unfairly targeted darker complected communities with very long prison sentences. And that's his real legacy with Black America, not the token people that he brought to office, when America needs to wake up to the fact that U.S. presidents don't decide anything. They're just figureheads. They're just puppets. They're there for people to love or hate and divide over and come back in the next election and validate the lie. That's about as relevant as the U.S. president is. Again, when you document how it's all script that they're following, it's obvious that they're not writing the scripts. They're coming into the same cabal that writes the same types of scripts that can pays tribute to their history and the history they continue to get away with year after year. But yeah, again, everything's lining up very much like we imagined it. Right when Biden took office, we thought that we'd see the transition of Biden to Kamala while he's 81, after his record 81 million votes, after Obama endorsed 81 candidates on August 1st. Again, President Biden equals 81 from Scranton, Pennsylvania on Interstate 81. We thought around the time he's 81 and Kamala's 59, in light of them winning the 59th election and renegade equaling 59, like slave, like Negro, like blues. Again, Obama was renegade to the Secret Service. Kamala and Joe won the 59th election. She's 59 right now. They did O.J. Simpson dirty in the 59 ritual this year before Super Bowl 59, who's connected to San Francisco like Kamala. How they bring it all together. Politics, Hollywood, sports, all one big script, murder rituals all along the way, ritual sacrifice. Again, it's crazy to watch them do what they did to OJ after what I've been educated about for a long time, writing books about Ephesians 6, Masters 5 through 9, and then just how they did OJ and announced him dead during the Masters. It was just, and showing a picture of him in a Titleist hat. It's just like, oh my God, man. The last time anybody heard from him, the day of the Super Bowl, when he was talking about getting back to golf and wearing his Titleist cap. And don't forget, Titleist equals 114 and 102. And he was announced dead the day after he had reportedly died, the 102nd day of the year, a date written 11/4, the 11th of April. In terms of scripts by the numbers, and these people being so dressed up, they're even wearing the cap that foretells at least what's going to be reported about their future. There's a chance that OJ is golfing somewhere off on Celebrity Island. I don't know about all that. It's possible. I'd like to think that's what they actually do, because then it's less evil and cruel, but still, whether they're faking their deaths or not, lying to people constantly, just making shit up, keeping people in the stupor fest, coming back and voting in the rig shenanigans. All this is evil. Murdering people on top, just all the more evil. You could argue, though, exponentially more evil if you're throwing murder in there. Murder's like, I mean, is there really? I mean, there are bad things you can do to people. There's all kinds of evil things, but I'd have to say at the top's got to be murder. Okay. What happened to my image here? Why does it look like that? I don't know why my image turned black. It's not supposed to be like that. Okay, well, for whatever reason, it is black, but you can see down here that the story is about how Biden campaign is quietly testing Kamala Harris internal polls. And according to the latest report, this is a story from the New York Times. It says here in the last paragraph, a Thursday poll from ABC News and the Washington Post found that Biden and Trump are essentially tied, even as 60% of voters say they believe Biden should drop out of the race. That poll also tested Harris in a contest with Trump and found that she overperformed Biden, holding a slight lead of 49% to 46%. I mean, seriously, guys, she's the 49th VP. Joe Biden's obviously number 46. We were just talking about this, the ritual they had on Independence Day. It was a big 49 ritual. Kamala Harris and Gematria equals 49. The name Eve equals 49 as well in light of the first, right? First woman in the Bible, Eve. First woman in the Oval Office. Were you swearing on the Bible? Kamala Harris. Again, she's the 49th vice president. If you missed what we were documenting on the 4th of July, just to go back, her and Joe spoke together about Independence Day, and she spoke first on the day that we say 4th of July, 4th day, 7th month, like she could become number 47. You can watch the video I did on the 4th because I went into a few more things. But it was 227 days after Joe's birthday. And that's the 49th prime number with Kamala speaking first. And again, Kamala Harris, like Washington, like America. It's a big time number. And again, just the Herbert Hoover death on the day Kamala was born, in light of what Gerald Ford said at the Herbert Hoover Library about how we'll get the first female president when an old man dies in office and the younger woman takes over the job. Maybe it ends up not being a death. Maybe it ends up being a resignation. But the prophecy of Gerald Ford would be damn close. And we talked about how this year on October 20th, how the NFL scheduled the 49ers so that they play on Gavin Newsom's birthday, October 10th. And then the 49ers have a 10-day break until Kamala's birthday and play again. And again, we talked about that in yesterday's stream and why it's interesting that Kamala Harris equals 112, and that game's 112 days before Super Bowl 59 when she took office in the 59th U.S. presidential election, and she's 59 years old right now. Of course, the day of that game, she'll turn 60 right before the 60th election. But, yeah, again, just scripted sports, scripted politics year after year, just like they've been syncing up the Dodgers and Padres, Steve Garvey's teams all year. Their rigged season with his upcoming campaign to be the senator in California. Again, the World Series will conclude a few days before the election. So, yeah, if you missed the video on July 4th, you can go back and check that out. But we were saying August 9th is definitely an interesting day. The anniversary of Gerald Ford becoming president after Richard Nixon resigned, who lost to JFK in the 60 election. The day leaving 144 days left in the year, shortly after Obama's 63rd birthday. It'll be the anniversary of the day that JFK's infant child died, and the anniversary of the assassination last year in Ecuador on that date. And the story of the FBI arresting a man who wanted to kill Biden also last year on August 9th. 8-9 like Gerald Ford, and 89 laid down how we'll get the first female president. So, more on this. Today's date numerology is 42. It's the year 24. And this stat that was in this article that we just read, where they said 67% of voters say they believe Biden should drop out of race. Remember, 67 is a number very much connected to the female, because International Women's Day is March 8th, the 67th day of the year, except for in a leap year. And in Jewish gematria, female has that 67 connection. So yesterday I was mentioning two scenarios that I saw coming into that 49ers game on Kamala's birthday. I think it'll be one of two scenarios. The 49ers could come in undefeated, 6-0 on Kamala's 60th birthday playing the Chiefs. and she could be on her way to becoming commander-in-chief. Or the other thing that could make sense is the game before that's on Gavin Newsom's birthday. If the 49ers became 4-2 on Gavin Newsom's birthday, he was the 42nd mayor of San Francisco, then it would be on Kamala's birthday with the Niners 4-2 for the season playing the Chiefs, who became 4-2 against them. Or the Chiefs became 4-2 in Super Bowls, beating the 49ers last year on the 42nd day of the year. And then we know that they went to the White House and met with Biden and Kamala by the numbers. Remember, they did that on the 152nd day of the year, and Joe Biden equals 152 like Kamala Devi Harris. But imagine, see, what's really interesting is if they did come in, either way would be interesting and symbolic, but if they did come in 4-2, they'd be playing the Chiefs that day, the 49ers, on Kamala's birthday. And imagine if they became 5-2. It's interesting because president equals 52, like White House, like government, like authority, like 49ers. The 49ers fell to 5-2 in Super Bowls the first time they lost to the Chiefs. And then since then, they've lost to the Chiefs again, so they're now 5-3. But again, little rituals do go down like this every year. And when you're watching and seeing how they pulled off, you're like, okay, I definitely see what they're signaling. It's how we've been able to get ahead of sports news so many times and show how it's all scripted together. And I mean, you got to be kind of brain dead to realize or to think it's a coincidence that the NFL scripted a 49ers game on Gavin Newsom's birthday. He's from San Francisco, went to Santa Clara where the stadium is now. Again, where they killed the Smash Mouth singer days before the season began last year, when Smash Mouth is football terminology, and that was the terminology for the 49ers, that they had the most Smash Mouth defense in football. But yeah, and let's not forget that Gavin Newsom equals 52 either, or same with California. California equals 52, Gavin Newsom 52, government 52, authority 52, president 52, White House 52. Gavin Newsom the other way is 56, like his age right now, like how Kamala was 56 when she took the White House with Biden, like how Barack took the White House with Biden after they won the 56th election. Society of Jesus 56. But anyway, Kamala with the big 49 connection and the 49ers playing on her birthday against the rematch of the Super Bowl. Again, I think this is pretty telling. And like we said, in the time of Biden being 81, Kamala being 59, this is when we expect the transition. So we'll see. We thought that the time in that period where it would get real interesting was right around June 1st. Remember, Michelle Obama's mom died the night before that. Mexico got the first female president the day after that. That was at the time of the guilty verdicts for Trump and Hunter Biden. And then just the debate. And like we said, because what they announced that debate would be June, what was it? The day leaving 187 days left there, June 27th. We said when they put that out, we're like, it's probably not going to be June 1st. Then the transition is probably going to be, I feel like they got to have that debate. So anyway, we've been following the crime trail. We've been calling it for years in advance, solving the crime. And I think we're solving it again right now. And we've been solving it for a long time, way before everyone. And again, that's the advantage of this knowledge. It's just, it puts you on another level. You won't get everything right, but you'll be seeing things a lot more clearly than most people. And you'll really be understanding the script and who's writing the script instead of most people where they're just left to saying they all the time. Everyone's talking about Terrence Howard right now. Terrence Howard kept saying they, and Joe Rogan's like, who's they? He's like, like government people, they. It's like, oh. Isn't it sad how everyone's talking about what Terrence Howard said on Joe Rogan like it even matters? You can't do anything with any of that information. The stuff we're showing every day, it adds up every day. You learn this, you see through things the next day. Hold on. All right. It's okay. This headline they put up here. Obama's silent over reports he's working behind the scenes to force Biden out of 2024 race. That emphasis on the phrase behind the scenes, that phrase equals 68, just like Barack Obama. Remember, MLK killed in 68 on 4/4, just like RFK was killed that year, who has the same birthday as Joe Biden, November 20th. 1968, the year of years, the year fentanyl was approved, the year coronavirus was coined, the year 911 was made the national emergency dialing code, World Trade Center construction began in New York. On and on and on. 2001: A Space Odyssey came out. Remember, CIA also equals 68. And today, the day of this headline, today can be written 11/7, like 117. And today's 117 days before the election. And Central Intelligence Agency equals 117, whereas CIA, the acronym, has the 68 connection. Talk about this all the time. So here's another example of this seemingly being the tribute to what's really behind the name Barack Obama. Remember how they had to mock us, you guys? After 9/11, it was nonstop fear-mongering on TV about Osama bin Laden. Unless you watched Fox News, then you got equal coverage of the men responsible for 9/11. If you guys don't know this, in the early days, Fox News always falsely reported that Saddam Hussein was just as connected to taking down the World Trade Centers as Osama bin Laden was. So on Fox News, you were getting a different set of information, that it was Saddam Hussein and bin Laden. Everywhere else, it was just bin Laden. But because Fox News is a huge network, everywhere that was the conversation. Like, oh yeah, Saddam and Osama, man, they took down the towers. And then next thing you know, who's running for office? Barack Hussein Obama. It's like, come on, man. I was just already in disbelief at just like how dumb the country was, that they couldn't see through Bush, that they couldn't see through 9/11, and now, oh, the great black hope, Barack Hussein Obama. Have they not been fear-mongering that every Muslim's going to blow us up? If you're in an airport and you see somebody with a turban on their head, you're probably going to die in moments. Hollywood just put out 5,000 movies about it. It's all every talking head on the TV was doing forever. You guys, this nation's just always treated everybody like they're stupid. And somehow people are like, oh, I just think it's another coincidence. I mean, life's funny like that. Okay. The first black American president's name's going to be Barack Hussein Obama. It's like, I know a lot of black people in my lifetime. Nobody's name was that. Nobody's name was Barack Hussein Obama. The name doesn't even sound real. Sounds like the CIA cooked it up just because they know they can get away with it. It's Clockwork Orange. They know they got the full mind control, absolutely in effect. And don't forget this whole Alec Baldwin thing, too. We covered this in big detail again yesterday, but he was 63 years old when he shot the woman. He's portrayed Trump. Trump's got the Kennedy and Cleveland parallels. I forgot to cover Michael Bennet. Michael Bennet was actually the first senator to move against Biden, and this was following the George Clooney story. And let me see here. What was it about Mr. Bennet? Maybe I put it down on my Twitter. I know there was something about this guy. Hold on. My Twitter is @FreeToFindTruth. Let's see. Maybe I forgot to document what I was looking at. Hold on. Let me pull back up this Michael Bennet guy. I know there was something else I spotted about this when I looked at it last night. He's 59 years old right now. Again, Biden won the 59th election. Kamala's 59. John F. Kennedy and Gematria equals 59, just like Pope Francis. Remember, the 59th election was won by Biden 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday. JFK dead at 46. How 46 and 59 connect from the Pope to JFK. And now Kamala being 59 at this time. His birthday is November 28th, 1128. Remember what 1128 is. It's the 47th triangular number. If you had 1 through 47, it's 1128. There's almost always a big 47 ritual on November 28th. Kamala could become number 47. And that's right. He's from Colorado. Colorado, of course, has that 38 connection. And he took office the day after Obama and Biden took office, January 20th, 2009. So another guy that's been there through pretty much all of this, and also went to Yale. Colorado with the big 38 connection. Let's not overlook that, but also just big with the rituals this year, with Trump getting taken off the ballot and reinstated. And remember, they reinstated him on March 4th. Date can be written 4-3, like Colorado and election, both equal 38 and 43. And he was initially taken off by the Colorado Supreme Court with a 4-3 vote, only to be reinstated on that date, which is also the old inauguration date. And remember when that was happening was the same time that report was coming out against Biden. The man said, well, essentially he's just an old guy losing his mind, kind of giving him a pass on taking some documents that he wasn't supposed to just because he's losing his mind. All of these stories have just been building up. It was a big win in the courts for Trump getting back on the ballot. Big loss for Biden that week with the report about his older, failing cognitive ability. And then they line up the election by the numbers. Remember, the election was 220 days after Biden's birthday when Donald John Trump's 220. And again, inauguration day is 220 days after Trump's birthday. Again, they line up the debate with a number that is favorable to Trump, favorable outcome to Trump. News and scripts. And again, for all the people who would think all this stuff is organic, I would say it seems quite foolish to think it's organic. Seems like it's obviously planned, obviously manipulated, and that's why they get the right characters that they can put on the chessboard and then just structure the rituals accordingly. Again, you guys, I mean, Trump has the same birthday as the flag. They knew that president would take office while the flag was 239 years old, like the flag was sewn at 239 Arch Street in Philly. Again, they had to tell you right at the beginning of Trump's presidency that he weighed 239 pounds. And the next thing you know, he's taking on the flag protesters on 23/9. And we're saying that day, wait, hold it right there. 239 is the 52nd prime. It's the year of Super Bowl 52. The flag's from Philly. The flag's on the Patriots helmet. Looks like your Super Bowl. Absolutely was. Zach Ertz, number 86, scores the winning touchdown 86 days after his birthday. 86 years after the national anthem was adopted. And then we saw what they did to the Francis Scott Key Bridge at the start of this year on Nancy Pelosi's birthday. It came down in a big 86 ritual. That's who wrote the national anthem. Came down on the 86th day of the year from the Singaporean ship, 86 weeks after Nancy Pelosi was in Singapore, shaking the hand of the leader of Singapore. And then again, her daddy was the 41st mayor of Baltimore. Baltimore equals 41 like Key. The Francis Scott Key Bridge comes down on her birthday, and he died at 84. It came down on Pelosi's 84th birthday. And then remember, on her husband's 84th birthday, they shut down the Golden Gate Bridge. And we said the day the Francis Scott Key Bridge came down, it mattered that it was 135 days after the Superior General's birthday because Golden Gate Bridge equals 135. And that ritual was pointing back to the Golden Gate where Nancy Pelosi's in Congress. Again, it's just, and all the other things that were about that ritual, but all this stuff day after day, it's script. I mean, that wasn't God that pulled down the Francis Scott Key Bridge and the 86 ritual synced with Nancy Pelosi. That's how your government operates. The one from the Masonic City where it's etched on the temple, all his number. And this is something that's studied and understood by people in the occult. We're ruled over by occultists. Again, it's not an argument that masonry is into the occult. The occult means hidden. And they hide from us in our 13 years of slave school, pledging the 13 stripes that the founders were all in these secret societies. I mean, that should tell you everything you need to know about your upbringing right there. They left out some really key information. Why was that left out? Was it to raise you up to be a useful idiot so you just believed a whole bunch in your country and just went along with all of its bullshit and thought you were the greatest thing there ever was and nothing could ever go wrong until it did? Here's a city that's learning the hard way. I mean, how many times have we just watched Houston just get ransacked in some obvious weather warfare psyop with the same Jesuit 52 code all over it? You know? It's got to be something about the Confederate, the Civil War, and Sam Houston. We got to look more into why they hate Houston so much. Could also be because it's in the right spot in the world for, the most favorable weather conditions for manipulating their disasters. But yeah, I do feel bad for the people of Houston. If you guys weren't here the time they got wiped out with the super cold freeze on Valentine's Day, we were pointing out, months in advance why something just like that was coming and how it was all foretold through predictive programming through entertainment. And Public Enemy putting out the album What You Gonna Do When the Grid Goes Down with Arizona on the cover of the album when Arizona's the Valentine's Day state. And that album came out on the anniversary of JFK's weather control speech. And then the grid went down 142 days later on 14/2 after the album came out. And Houston got the worst of it. Portland got it bad. Atlanta got it kind of bad. Some spots in Atlanta without power for a few days. Portland and Houston were out for over a week. But yeah, crazy weather all over the nation on Valentine's Day. What you going to do when the grid goes down? And here Houston is doing it again. They've done it through the freezing. Now they're doing it through the heat. And yeah, the unfortunate thing is that it doesn't need to be this way. The psychopaths, they've decided it needs to be this way. And maybe at the end of the day, maybe they're right. Maybe they do have to, curb the population, and they've decided that this is the best way to go about it. I wish they'd just be honest and transparent about it then. If they just told people that they need to greatly reduce the population and really put that out there, you might have people lining up to do their part because they love their country so much and just off themselves. There's so many miserable people on so many antipsychotics and anti-anxiety and antidepressants. They might be like, you know what? If I can just die, oh wow, I even get to give my family $50,000. Here, I'll sign up for it. That'd be sick too if they even did that and people went along. But at least it would be transparent and more out in the open. And I think sadly it is that way. I think so many people are so sad and just ready to go. I think if they were encouraged to do it by their big government, who they've listened to their whole life, put their muzzle on for, got their experimental jabs, all that, keep going out for their bullshit elections as the candidate choice gets worse every single year, but they still keep coming out. They might just do it. I can be part of the 10 million. Yeah, we need 10 million more this year. All of a sudden, Dr. Jack Kevorkian's this national idol being celebrated all over cable news. It could happen. Shout out to John Mendoza. Thank you always for the generous dollar, John. Yeah, the reason they kind of do things out in the open, but then they don't, and the people don't catch on is because, yeah, they don't want to ignite the revolt. They just want to achieve their plan, and it's always the slow kill. They're very patient, and as time goes on, you see what it is as time goes on. Just quality of life for the average person on the decline, and then the ruling class getting smaller, but also more powerful. Or maybe not exactly smaller. It's like in the time of COVID. Remember in the first year of COVID, we were laughing at the headline about 56 new billionaires were created. We're like, come on, man. They just got to report that there's 56 new billionaires. Because in the time of COVID, everything was 56. And then eventually we got that headline. Jeff Bezos was 56 years old in 2020 when the first case was found in his backyard in Seattle. Remember, he founded his company the year Bill and Melinda got married. Old 94. But anyhow, I think we got through it all. Let me see if there's anything breaking. Doesn't look like it. Looks like it's the same top stories. Growing list of Obama allies, former advisors look to sink president's re-election bid. Yeah. And again, we're just days from Obama's 63rd birthday with all the JFK parallels. There's been a whole lot of 63 going on. Let me see. Is there any new names on here? It says a growing list of close allies and former advisors to President Obama are looking to sink President Biden's re-election bid. The cascade began with former Obama advisor David Axelrod sounding the alarm following Biden's dismal debate performance last month, and was followed by a group of former advisors known as the Obama Bros. David Axelrod, for the record, is always on Bill Maher's Real Time, that Jesuit-run network. Another guy that's just always there, another talking head on the TV, legitimizing the bullshit. During their time working at the White House, as well as actor George Clooney, who was close to the former president, Obama bro John Favreau, that's the actor that always does things with Vince Vaughn, isn't it? Or am I confusing somebody? Broke his silence concerning Biden's mental fitness on Wednesday, just hours after the damaging op-ed. Hold on. Hello?
was a comet discovered on January 9th, 2023.
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you. All right. I should just not pick up the phone. Hey, Zach, I just want to interrupt the stream and give you the update on the comet discovered in January 2023. Okay. Wrong stream, buddy. God. Here, back to this article. See if there's any new names here. It was not surprising to any of us who were at the fundraiser. I was there. Clooney was exactly right, and every single person I talked to at the fundraiser thought the same thing, except for the people working for Joe Biden. Isn't it? Again, you guys, just how it all. If this is the way it was, and the fundraiser was back on June 15th, well, oh my God, how come nobody said anything until just now? And then again, we see it. It's all led by George Clooney, right, on the Ides of March. In terms of numerology connected date that fits with his film. And then you get the senators that are corresponding. Again, the Ides of March happened in 44 BC. You got the Blumenthal born on the 44th day of the year. And anyway, it was not surprising to any of us who were there at the fundraiser. I was there. Clooney was exactly right. And every single person I talked to at the fundraiser thought the same thing, except for the people working for Joe Biden, or at least they didn't say that. But yet they were raising all this money for him that night. You think if they're seeing this in real time, they'd be like, hold on, maybe we don't want to raise money for this person. And also to act like nobody noticed. I mean, hasn't this been going on for years? I mean, like, oh, is this just a revelation? We didn't know that. It's just annoying how people just stay stuck on stupid and listening to this news media and these people where it's making fun of your existence every day, just treating you like you're a total moron. Buildings just crumble into dust. Man in a cave did it. After a weird election where it came down to his brother's state where he was the governor and their daddy was the last Republican president. Just nobody blinks an eye at anything. God bless America. It's like, is that your only response to everything? God bless America? I mean, have you actually looked at America? Like, do we get blessings because we began out of a genocide? Is it like all the years of slavery and just all the crazy shit this nation does? Is that why we're blessed? I mean, I don't know who's giving us these blessings for all the evil we've done in this world. And people don't want to acknowledge those things, but isn't it true? I mean, did the nation not begin out of a genocide? I mean, I'm pretty sure it did. I'm pretty sure this nation's been up to no good the whole time. I don't know why God would bless us, honestly. But at the same time, I don't see why, a baby's born in an evil land. Is God going to condemn that baby? I don't think God would do that either. It's just, no, I'm not going to keep saying God bless America and what a great country I have. It doesn't look like a great country. It looks like I've been lying to me my whole life, wasting my time, wasting my upbringing, keeping me stupid in school. I always felt like my time was wasted when I was younger. It was so boring and easy. I was just like, this is a waste of my damn time. Let me out of here. I don't need to sit in the classroom for 6.5, 7, 8 hours a day. Let me go outside and investigate some things I actually want to learn about. Let me go out and work with that builder over there and learn how to build a building. That's part of the reason they bring Mexicans in too, you guys. The Mexican culture is you learn to work when you're a child. You know how to actually do something. You have a skill set. In America, you sit in a classroom and get your head filled with bullshit, and then you get a piece of paper and you feel like you're special, but you don't know how to do anything. You don't know how to feed yourself. You don't know anything about anything, but you got a piece of paper. Here, I'll take the 18-year-old Mexican who can hardly speak because, damn, look at the way he builds. That's a real skill. Yeah, he doesn't have a diploma, but look at him. He's a happy, nice guy, and he's got some real damn skills over there. He knows all about agriculture. What do you know about the agriculture? You don't know anything. See, like we look down our nose at the people of Mexico, but it's like they're actually people who know how to live. Like if the world just fell apart, I think Mexico might do better. They know how to grow food. They know how to build structures. They know how to do all sorts of shit. They have a good work ethic. Average American just wants to, take tests and play video games. So I'm good at getting straight A's, but I don't know a damn thing about anything. I'm a genius on the internet talking shit as a troll anonymously. It's like, this is the American culture. It's like, oh, look at you. You can regurgitate the news story and you remembered to circle C for Christopher Columbus and you got a diploma. Round of applause. But yeah, that's also a big part of it too with why we let people come across the border. It's like a few years ago, every place had vacancies and now, they let more people across the border. Now that the jobs are filled back up. And like I said, up here, it's like where I live, the majority of the population's Hispanic. Hardly of them speak any English, but I'm not having any problems. And now when I go to a place to get a service done, there's somebody there to do it. So But also, no doubt, I mean, all of their agendas are multifaceted. Again, they also want, something that's also true of or a lot of the Catholic population from Mexico is they're also more subservient to authority and less likely to go against it. All kinds of nations across the world are like that. I mean, that's one of the last things that's actually good about America. Some people still have a backbone, even though they're few and far between, but there might be a lot more here in America than almost anywhere else, only for a limited time. You can almost count all of them that still exist on one hand. Everybody else just put their slave muzzle on and march to the tune of Anthony Fauci and Anderson Cooper. Anderson Cooper, who gets plugged in the behind, he told you, if you don't get that shot, listen to me, you are not a real man. Anderson Cooper literally told his audience that you're not a real man if you don't go out and get the experimental jab. That's what's wrong with this nation. That network can even exist and people turn into to listen to that person. How could you possibly still be listening to that person? What have they been right about? What have they lied to you about? Almost every night it's nothing but lies. It's true for all these cable networks, but Anderson Cooper is a special time of smarmy piece of shit. The guy who had the CIA internship, the guy who after Sandy Hook started pleading every night on the air about how we need to do something about these whack job conspiracy theorists online who are questioning Sandy Hook and other events of the past. Like they tend to also question the events of 9/11. 9/11 conspiracy theorists. Like, okay. The worst position you can have on 9/11 is the one that the government told you happened. The one where they still won't release any video of the plane that supposedly flew into the Pentagon. Yeah, Flight 77 that hit the 77-foot tall Pentagon 77 minutes after taking off on the 77th meridian. The next thing you know, Tom Brady, born in 77, who can run a 10-second 40s, supposedly the greatest football player there ever was. It's like, come on, man. My grandma has a better body than that guy and can probably also run the 40 faster. But oh my God, Mike, that's what I always think of with America too. Like nobody got mad at all about being lied to about 9/11, but then it's like everything was going pretty swell in America. We were coming together, fighting the terrorists, and then there wasn't a whole lot of hubbub about anything. But then all of a sudden, Mike Dog was fighting Vicks. Or what did I just say? That was a total mesh of words. Mike Vick was fighting dogs. Oh my God. I always think about how everybody was so outraged about that. And it reminds me of a nation of dopes that we live in. It's like, you guys aren't outraged that we're killing brown people over an obvious lie on 9/11. And we've been doing it for years and spending crazy money and sending our own troops off. But now you're so worried about the dogs. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like dogs too. I don't want to do any mean things to dogs, but people literally do care, more about animals than they do their fellow man. I'm pretty sure when Fox News follows up, if you ever watch Fox News, they got like 5 different commercials that they do. They do the Mike Lindell pillows. They do the gummy that if you eat, it's the same as eating 5,000 fruits and vegetables a day, which is obviously a load of shit, just like everything else on the network. Like eat one gummy is 5,000 fruits and vegetables. It's a balance of nature. We're fair and balanced. They got the Mike Huckabee sleep aid, which is just magnesium with some other shit in it. Again, if you there's a few different types of magnesium, but one of them's the one that relaxes your body and puts you to sleep. They charge a little more for that one, but that's what his sleep aid that he's always selling is. It's pretty much just rebranded magnesium. It's like, I think if you just go buy the actual magnesium, it's cheaper than the Mike Huckabee ripoff, where now his daughter's in office and they're syncing up mass shootings with both of them by the numbers. It's like, these aren't people you want to support. You don't want to buy Mike Huckabee's sleep aid. These are the same people that are probably sending their proceeds back to the CIA for the next psyop on you. What do you mean Fox News is the truth? It's like, oh boy, these useful idiots. No, it's not. It's all bullshit. It might be more truthful than CNN. That's not setting the bar too high, though. Fox News, they told you if you don't support the killing of brown people in Gaza, you're a bad human being. But what other ads do they run on there? Oh yeah, then they run the one to donate money for dying Jews, and then they run the one for donate $11 a month to 9/11 victims. It's like, and then they got Mark Wahlberg on there, who supposedly got off the plane at the last minute for 9/11, and he's like, yeah, this fund's totally legit. Like all the money goes there. Donate 11 now. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. Probably 11 cents goes to the victims, and they take the remainder of the $11. It just like they got to ask you for $11 when the whole ritual was a mega 11, the master number, and now they're scamming people's good-hearted nature. Donate $11 to help out these 9/11 victims. It all started with 9/11, so donate 11. And then the other one that I was trying to get to, the other ad they have is this dog, needs food and water now. Send money. I bet you out of all those donation things, the Jews, well, they also have the Shriner. I guess it's mostly Fox News. If you do watch their news advertising, it's mostly just all donate to this cause or Mike Lindell's pillows, like I said, or Balance of Nature. It's just nonstop, those advertisements. But they do the Shriners Children's Hospital too. They have the little kid that's like, well, he looks like a little kid, but he's probably age 50. He's got that disability. But yeah, I'm guessing that if you could see the numbers, I bet the most money that gets donated for all those charities, it might very well be the dogs. People they love animals more than they love people. And, in a way, it's because we're so bad to each other. It's just like you meet the woman who got scorned by her first 4 boyfriends, who she fell in love with each one and every time got her heart broke. And now for the rest of her life, she's just going to live with 8 cats because men are dogs. And, yeah, it's too bad that the world is like that. People have learned to not care for other people because so many people have been so bad and just done other people so wrong. And it really does start at the top. It's because we're led by shitty people. We're raised up by shitty people. We're given a shitty culture based on lies. I'm sure it has all kinds of subconscious impacts. There's a reason people are so dishonest and so manipulative and so untrustworthy. It's just like everything we see from the people who rule over us. It's like when people get jaded, they're like, okay, this is the only way to live in this world. Lie, cheat, steal. Nobody else is getting anywhere else doing anything. But then you start lying, cheating, and stealing. If you're a good person, you start feeling like a shitty person, and that's no way to feel either. But yeah, as long as the world is the way it is, just pretty much all based on lies and manipulation, you'll continue to see the same behaviors in humanity. It starts at the top. Okay. Here's a new headline up here. Well, actually, God, there you go. Tampons contain lead, arsenic, and potentially toxic chemicals, study says. Yeah, that's because all these mega corporations are all part of this sick population control. And again, those things are sold in the same store where they sell the pharmaceutical drugs too. They want everybody. That's the thing. That's why I always say, you guys, you got to learn about what foods to really eat that help cleanse your body of the toxins that are just everywhere. You can be doing your best to avoid toxins, man. The toxins are still there. That they made sure this whole world is dipped in toxin. I remember in the early 2000s, System of a Down, they had the big song everywhere, Toxicity, the toxicity of our cities. Body shaming is everywhere. Well, I hate this phrase, body shaming. Listen, if your body can be shamed, do something about it if it bothers you. If somebody's shaming you and that hurts your feelings, literally do something about your body then. Make people go, whoa, what happened to that? Whoa, where did that go? Where did all the rolls go? Wow, you're looking good. Because everybody can do that. It just takes a little bit of discipline. Here, I'm going to tell you guys a real story. I always make fun of Cheetos, right? Sweet Lady's been having all these crazy cravings. And again, watching the pregnant lady cravings is just something else, because Sweet Lady's never liked chocolate before. She's been eating chocolate like crazy lately. All of a sudden she wanted Cheetos so bad, and then, man, she chowed through this bag of Cheetos. I've been telling her about it. She mostly eats healthy. Don't get it wrong, but man, she's got some cravings for some junk food, and I'm not fighting with her. I'm just like, okay, I'm not stopping sweet mama. But anyway, this is the point. She got on this Cheeto kick, and then I forget what the bigger size bag is. They charge like $5 for them now at the store. But all of a sudden, she's like, I got to stop. And then so there were these Cheeto bag, open. And it was just sitting there. And it was probably just going to end up going stale. I hate for food to go to waste. So I chowed down the Cheeto bag, right? And I ate way too many Cheetos. Again, you look into how they engineer this food. They engineer it so it's addictive, so it doesn't fill you up the way it should. But the point I'm making is because I chowed down this bag of Cheetos like over the course of 2 days, I gained in those 2 days on the scale, I literally gained 7 pounds. And it's not 7 pounds of Cheetos, right? But what I realized is it's because it like backed up my system, so then I'm not digesting, I'm getting constipated. And I just realized like people are eating this kind of shit all the time. Like my body's really not used to it because I haven't eaten Cheetos in forever. And yeah, they are damn good, but they're horrible for you. And then just like that, it's like you're all out of your rhythm. You've just gained all this extra pound. You feel sludgy. But yeah, if people could learn to not eat that shit and just eat healthy food, a lot of produce, because plants, like our bodies, we were made to eat, just pick plants right off the tree, right out of the ground. It just digestible right then. That no disease or illness. Well, our teeth are made for that. I'm not saying you need to eat a vegan or vegetarian lifestyle, but again, a lot of plants are the foods that are made into to medicine, the natural medicine. They're the things that can clean you out, wipe out the heavy toxins. Again, cilantro, parsley. And the thing is, when you get vegetables, you got to make sure you clean them, right? Because almost everything has crazy pesticides on it. So you might be eating a healthy vegetable, but it's coated in terrible chemicals that create they could be. This is the whole problem with our food supply right now, and not controlling our food and not seeing what's done to it, and mass production and just conveyor belts of food and chemicals flopped on them so they last longer than they're supposed to, so they can be sold for a profit. Again, once upon a time, we had our own food. We went and picked it out of the garden. We went and hunted for it in the wilderness. But that's not what it is anymore. Now we live this lifestyle of all these new chemicals, preservatives. We're not moving around like hunters and gatherers. Our lifestyles are mostly so easy. We can sit on our ass all day, work in front of a computer, drive home, flop down on the couch. I mean, you've hardly burned 10 calories all day. So yeah, just the way the world's been shaped around us, it's so unnatural. And that's why you see all these people dying from all these unnatural things and all these unnatural things happening to our children. And yeah, you don't hear any serious conversation from our federal government about solving any of these problems. And that's why I was so annoyed in the time of COVID. And that's why I get so annoyed with all the people that fell for COVID. And all of a sudden your government cared about your health. I mean, that was my biggest ranting point when this all began. We saw through all the bullshit, but then we're saying, like, how can people fall for this? That the government cares about their health? The government that subsidizes junk food? The government that puts out a false food pyramid for children to learn that's really paid for by the big five corporations that control almost every product in the grocery store. But yeah, body shaming. I mean, the best way to encourage somebody is probably not to shame them. Some people do respond to being shamed, but probably the average person, it's not a good thing. But yeah, again, we just have it is an epidemic in terms of people that are just way out of shape, obese, and then also they're like marshmallows in more ways than ones because they're so emotionally just easily impacted. And it's like they've learned the nursery rhyme backwards. When I was a kid, it was sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Now it's like, oh, words hurt the most. It's like, only if you let them. Only if you let it hurt you. But as I read this headline, like I think of, if you guys haven't seen the video, it's somewhere on TikTok. It was like the first video I ever put on TikTok, and it got a ton of views, and then I never got any views again on TikTok. But I was in the post office, and it was back in the day when I was delivering my book every single day. And there's this woman, and she was way overweight. I mean, she was probably close to the same height as me. She was taller. I'm 5'10". So she was a taller woman, but she was also very overweight. I'd guess that she probably weighed over 300 pounds. But she had her slave muzzle on, and then she started screaming in the post office that I need to put a mask on. And the thing is, I was in the post office every day for like 6 months straight, shipping off copies of Number Game. So they're very familiar with me in the post office, and they knew I was one of the people in the time that never wore a mask, and you didn't have to wear a mask there. And at first, they didn't even make the employees wear a mask, and eventually the policy changed at the post office, and the employees started having to wear a mask. And there's a guy there named Leroy, but that's what happens in the video. She's screaming. She's going hysterical that I need to get out of the post office because I don't have a mask on. And I wasn't, I was just, I was trying to tell her to just chill out and keep her distance. But then Leroy finally came out, who's the manager of that post office, and he told her to get the hell out of the post office. She got kicked out. And when he threw her out, I think you can hear me in the background say something that's not so nice. I forget exactly how it was, but it was like, It was something like, "See you later, fat bitch." And in a way, it was deserved because she was like flipping out and going crazy. And also in my mind, I'm just thinking, like, God, this lady's fat as a whale, and she's so worried about her health. I guess actually, you paid attention during COVID. That is mostly who was dying, really fat people. And but yeah, it's just like, look at me, lady. I look like a healthy human being. Look at you. Worry about your own health over there. Don't be telling me what to do. And like I said, I was like, I've been in this post office every day for like the last 5 months straight, and there hasn't been a problem. You're the first person to come in. And I'd been around so many people. Nobody else was mad like that I wasn't wearing a mask. She must have been over from the other side of the state, Seattle area. But yeah, she's the kind of person that I think of with this article. You know, somebody body shamed her. She'd be crying so hard about it. It's like, why don't you do something about it? Instead of go home tonight, sit on your fat ass and eat more Cheetos and drink more sweet drinks like I know you're going to do. How about tonight? Don't do that. How about do some intermittent fasting? How about maybe go for a walk, do some exercise, learn to eat better? I get tired of listening to everybody's excuses for why they're fat. That's all it is for why you're fat. Excuses. That is the only way to be fat. You know why there's mostly not fat people in like poverty parts of the world? Because it's not even possible. You are fat because of possibility, because you can stuff your face with shit that you don't need, that you're addicted to, and you don't do enough to burn it off or change it. And yeah, some people's bodies might be different than others. Some people might gain 20 pounds from eating one bag of Cheetos, where a guy like me gains 7 pounds that I don't need. But again, if you're that person, then all the more reason not to eat the Cheetos and to figure out the way your body works, not make excuses. Well, I just get fat easy. And it's like, well, I see that you got like 3 open soda cans over there. Looks like there's a Twinkie package behind you. How many bags of empty chips is that Again, I just get tired of listening to everybody's excuses. Excuses. If you're fat, too many calories go in and not enough get burnt, period, end of discussion. That's the way it works. And see, that's the problem with this day and age we live in. It's like nothing is 1 + 1 is 2 anymore. Now people are talking about, is Terrence Howard right that 1 × 1 is 2? It's like, no, he's not right. He's a moron. If I'm going to pay you $1 one time, that's what exactly that phrase means. Does that mean you got paid $2? No, it means you got paid $1. 1 × 1 doesn't equal 2. We don't need to talk about Terrence Howard because he was on Joe Rogan. What we should talk about is how back in 2016, when my work was blowing up because we called Prince's death in every sports future, Joe Rogan had speaking of fat women, what's the comedian Roseanne? He had Roseanne on, and he's like, hey, this is 2016. I know Joe Rogan saw one of my videos that year, or at least maybe saw more than one. And he was thinking about it. He's like, hey, Roseanne, have you heard about this thing, Gematria, with the letters and numbers? It's like, dude, that's why Joe Rogan should have had this topic popping all the time instead of what Terrence Howard mumbled out of his ass that didn't make any sense, that just showed he was a fucking retard. This society, man, way too soft, way too weak, way too fragile, way too stupid, way too gullible. And then when somebody comes with the facts and receipts, then they just have to deny it because it just breaks their whole worldview. Like, what do you do with these people? Excuses, denial. Nobody cares about truth or evidence. They're going to wake up when it's too late. Anyway. Thanks again, John. Shout out to Truth Does Not Exist. You don't have to do that, young guy. Will you bring back a weekly call-in show on Wednesday or Friday? I want to, but it's going to be a while. I'm going to wait until we have the little one and just once I see what a schedule's like with the little one. Because when I start a show up, I want it to be consistent. So, but yeah, I'm also trying to finish some other things in the background right now, and eventually a regular show will come back. Thank you, Uncommon Truth Shaman. You are welcome. Sarah Sutherland became a YouTube member. Sarah Sutherland, you're always finding new ways to donate. Thank you, Sarah. And Truth Does Not Exist said, donate to our animal shelter, never mind the homeless. Yeah, indeed. And that is kind of how it is on Fox News. They'll be ripping on all these shitty homeless people, and then they'll go to a commercial break, and they'll be telling you to donate to dogs. It's like, this is kind of weird programming. The actual content's kind of like hating on these homeless people who are, again, Almost everybody who's homeless, you look into their story, you start to understand why. Horribly abused. Sometimes it's, hung out with the wrong people and got hooked on drugs. That can happen too. And then really the problem there is they made bad choices in their life. But again, behind a lot of people that are homeless, there's a serious abuse story. And yeah, it's just another wild thing in America is how many families are just a bad cycle. They come up in a bad spot, and then next thing you know, they're doing bad things to their own children. That's why group homes, there's not enough beds for, yeah, it's something else, this world we live in. You need a Gematria Effect diet plan? Well, you got to figure out what works for you. What works for one guy doesn't work for the next, but the way it's working is if you're overweight, you get a scale and you figure out if you lost weight from yesterday. And you should be able to lose weight every day if you're making a real effort. Here's a real good idea. If you're overweight, you don't need to eat. If you really want to lose weight and you're overweight, you don't need to eat. See that's the ultimate test. How long can you go without eating? You got keep yourself hydrated, get some fluids in there, and that doesn't mean drink water. You can drink plain tea, plain coffee. You can't be putting sugar and crap like that in there, but real fasting, you're not putting any calories in your body, but you can put water in. And tea and coffee is fair because that doesn't have any calories, unless you're getting that pre-made stuff that has sugar and stuff in it. But just like an actual tea bag, as long as there's not sugar added to it, straight plain coffee. I mean, you could still have that, but yeah, I always think that about people who are way overweight. I mean, just buck up and don't eat any food. Try to not eat for 3 days. Prove to yourself you can do something. You got to have the mentality of like, look, when I see people out in public that are like over 100 pounds overweight, I mean, you see people in the grocery store, they're riding around on the electric car, and the only thing that's wrong with them is they're hundreds of pounds overweight, so their feet probably hurt so bad. And it's like now they're like almost in an irreversible position. They can't even walk. They're so fat because they're going to hurt themselves. So they're moving around in the dolly. They're moving around the electric cart. Those people need to just stop eating food. I mean, that person could probably not eat for a whole week and they'd lose a ton of weight. And then, yeah, I mean, it might have been a very painful experience, but when you're that far over the edge, again, it calls for some dramatic measures to get yourself back in the game. That's the thing too. It's just like people don't want to make changes. My own parents, I can't get either of my parents to make healthy choices. They both just make nothing but excuses. I showed my dad a simple workout almost a year ago that he could do. And I showed it to him. I was like, look how easy it is. And his wife thought it was kind of fun. She started doing it. And I was like, Dad, just do this. Put in at least 5 minutes a day. And he said he would do it. But you know how many times he's done it since that day we talked about it? 0. And that's the way he's always been. Years ago, when I was younger, I got him a gym membership. He said he would go. The only time he ever went in the 2 years that I paid for the membership and then I just stopped because it was expensive and he never went. The only time he went was one time when I went and got him and took him there. And then when we were there, he would hardly do anything. And again, it's just like, some people just don't want to do anything about their physical well-being. It's like they've given up on themselves. And, it's like my mom too. And just both my parents, now they have excuses. They're like, oh, well, my hip hurts, my leg hurts. So I'm like, well, see, I mean, you let yourself go more and more, it's just going to get worse and worse. So yeah, I know it's an epidemic, man. America was made lazy. And don't get the wrong idea. My parents are not lazy people. They work their ass off and they worked almost 7 days a week every day I was growing up. But when it comes to taking care of themselves and doing anything for their body, they're lazy in that regard. That's the regard they're lazy. I don't understand it. There's obviously different scales to people who take care of themselves. You go to the gym, there's the guy who's there like 12 hours a day every day and looks like he's He-Man. And it's like, I've never had that in me to be that committed to working out that much. But again, it's not that hard to keep yourself in a good state of being. You realize that you're not a child and you shouldn't just be cramming snacks and junk food in your mouth all the time. You know, I mean, that should be an adult mentality. Okay, I realize that's not good for me. If I keep eating this shit food, it's going to be bad for me. I'm going to die early. I'm going to get disease and illness. I'm going to rack up a whole bunch of medical bills in the future. Didn't CNN have a story today? Yeah, right here. It's the center of the screen. Center of the screen today. Nearly half of adult cancer deaths in the U.S. could be prevented by making lifestyle changes. Study finds. Oh, really? Oh, really? This is like, I mean, over half? How about probably almost all of them? How about almost 100%? Because I think that, well, here's actually where maybe it can't be, it could be closer to 100. But another thing going on in this world, just so many lies, so many toxins, so many cover-ups. The people born on military bases where weird experimentations going on, and then they're all, I was telling you about my mom's neighbor. Shout out to Dave. Dave recently lost his wife. She was a super survivor. She battled cancer for over 20 years before she finally died. What's the military base that they're always advertising on TV recently for the class action lawsuit? For years, they've been advertising. Call in if you know somebody was harmed who grew up at this military base. In recent years, there's finally been a revelation that, yeah, some stuff went down there and a major class action lawsuit's in order. But this woman grew up on that military base, and she had, I forget how many other siblings. I want to say she had 5 or 6 other siblings. All of her siblings have died from cancer. She was the last to die. And she was the biggest survivor because some of her siblings died very fast after getting their cancer diagnosis. But in that regard, it's like you see that family all died from the same cancer because of where they grew up. I mean, that's just bad luck. But as time goes on, there's just more and more bad luck because there's more and more contaminated places. And again, you ask yourself, like, why was the military doing this crazy experimentation? I'm sure those at the time probably didn't realize how bad the consequences would be, or the toxins that would do all this. They probably didn't realize it, but maybe they did. Maybe they had information it could be that bad, and they just went ahead anyway. And at the end of the day, I mean, is that not what our government is? Just creating all kinds of problems that eventually they come around and provide the solutions for. And it's just like, had we just gone back to our ancestors like a couple hundred years ago when this kind of stuff didn't even exist because nobody's doing this, and you know, you couldn't become addicted to Ben and Jerry's and die at age 30 from diabetes because you just couldn't control your diabetes or your Ben and Jerry's addiction. I mean, these things weren't even possible to our ancestors. They just had to live and take care of the land and have a food supply and procreate and maintain shelter. It's just like, see, those are the actual things that you do when you live life, but not in the modern time. Now we live in this world, this consumer world where you consume products. You get a job so you can consume products, and the better your job pays, the more shit you can consume. You know, before you could only afford the $20 tequila, but now you're a big baller and you can go to the club and impress the girls and pick up the cutest one because you can buy $200 shots. It's like, that's the world we've made for ourselves. Like, oh yeah, I'm getting all the ladies tonight because look who can afford the big bottle on the tippy top shelf. Yeah, it's just everybody's living for the wrong things. You know, people wonder why they can't find a good significant other, and then they forget that, oh shit, that's right, our relationship not to pick on one of my cousins, but again, she met one of her boyfriends, and they're both cheating, and then, you know, ends up having cheating in the relationship, and then they're surprised, and I'm just like, well, you guys got together by cheating on your so anyway, it's just, I don't know, man. It's the no accountability society. It's like nobody has a mirror in their house. Everybody's the center of the world. Materialism, 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 and nothing else. I look at that picture with the cigarette and the alcohol, and I just think about I said in my family, only 3 people have died. 2 of them, uncle and aunt, who were married and who just partied way too hard. And my uncle, he partied so hard he almost died on his 40th birthday or just right after it. He had a massive heart attack and nearly died at age 40. And then he ended up living for 19 more years. He died just shy of his 60th birthday. But it was always just alcohol and smokes with them. I don't think they ever stopped. I think that's all they did was consume cigarettes and alcohol and party, party, party. But yeah, it comes with consequences too. So All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you very much again, Paula the Kitchen Witch. Appreciate your continued generosity. And if you get too skinny, I mean, yeah, again, also make an adjustment. Then that means you got to have more calories taken in. If you feel like you're getting too skinny, make sure you said all he's doing is running. Yeah, that could help him burn extra weight. He should be doing some lifts to build up his muscle mass too. You know, it's so important to lift weights, whether you're a man or a woman. It doesn't have to be a lot either. As I've gotten older, I hurt myself in my 20s lifting more than I should have. And again, I'd always say to young people, it's very important to work out, but don't exceed your limits, because if you injure yourself, it can be a major setback, and then it can become a lifelong burden, and then it can keep you from working out altogether, depending on how bad the damage is. It's better to do a lighter weight and high reps. Of course, you'll get bulkier if you're doing smaller reps and huge amount of weight. And a lot of guys, that's what they want to do, especially when they're younger. It's how you attract the chicks with the big muscles. Not every girl's into that though, but some girls like that. But again, it's so important to not injure yourself. And yeah, again, I got injured just before I was 30, and part of that injury I know was also from recently recovering from a weightlifting injury. So just things compounding, but yeah, it's like now what I like to do is I got 20-pound dumbbells for each arm. I'll do a whole bunch of reps of curls, shoulder presses. I actually have to go down to a lighter rep to do like the forearm lifts. 20 pounds is actually hard for forearm lifts for a guy. Guys who are big into the gym, like, I can do 20-pound forearm lifts all day. Yeah, okay, you're Hercules in the gym right now. I'm not, but you can do a lot with 20-pound dumbbells, and it's hard to hurt yourself with 20-pound dumbbells. But you do a ton of reps, you can get a real good burn. So, and yeah, that's just something I try to do now at my age. Now approaching 41 years old, I'll be 41 in less than a couple weeks. And I just want to make sure that for the rest of my life, I never get another weightlifting injury. There's still some days where I know I do too many reps because I'm just too extra sore, and then I'm a little bit slower the next day. But yeah, just not injuring yourself is crucial with exercising as well. And the thing is, too, you don't take care of your body. Eventually, your body just starts to deteriorate, and then you can't exercise because it hurts too much, or you get hurt too easy. And that's what I'm watching happen to my parents right now. And I hate watching it because I've been trying to motivate them for a long time to just do simple things. And I just been saying, well, you don't have to do a lot each day. There's just go for a walk at the very least. Do a little bit here with the dumbbells. Get one of these kettlebells and do some swings. They're simple. Kettlebell swings are a great exercise. You can get your heart pumping, work almost your whole body. If you can do 50 kettlebell swings in a minute or a minute and a half, of course you should do more than that if you can. But I mean, if you just did that every day, you'd probably stay in pretty damn good shape. A lot better than almost everybody else. Dedicating 1 minute a day. If you can just find 1 minute, I bet it would make a difference. If you've never done kettlebell swings, just look it up, because you're working your whole body, your legs, your lower body, you're getting your heart pumping. I mean, really, you should do it for more than a minute, but I'm just saying, if that's all you had in a day, it would make a difference every day. It would help you keep a better physique, better posture. You want to put a little bit of a shock on your system each day so that that's what it does. It builds back stronger, but anyway, I don't even know how. What did I get off on? It was the body shaming thing. Yeah, if you're like that, if you're letting people hurt your feelings because they're making fun of your body because your body's not that good and maybe you are ashamed of it, okay, yeah, okay. Anyone's feelings would be hurt. Do something about it. Make it so they can't shame your body. Make it so you're like, all right, look at that. Now what are my haters going to say? I'm feeling good about myself. I achieved something. I'm going to live longer for it. I feel better. Wow, my energy's way up. My mind's working more clearly. Yeah, I know when we were talking more about, I was talking a lot more about health when I first moved into this house. Sweet Lady and I were getting inspired and getting into certain things. And I remember just sharing some information with the community. I remember we had some people that tried out what I was saying. They were leaving nice comments. They're like, Zach, it's 2 months later. I've lost 30 pounds and I got to drop. I'm not on Lipitor anymore. It's like, awesome. I mean, everybody could be that way if they just made the effort. But yeah, everything's not going to work the same way for everybody. You got to find what works for you. But surely if you're overweight, you're definitely putting in too many calories and not burning enough. And if you have discipline, you got to find something to do when you get those cravings. I know how it is. It's like when we had that bag of Cheetos in the house the second day, I was like, oh, there's more left. I got to eat them. So I guess got to make sure there's never Cheetos in my house, which is what I typically do. And when I'm at the grocery store, I'm like, okay, I don't need to waste $5 on a bag of Cheetos. Yeah, it tastes good, but it's bad for me, and it's a waste of my money. Discipline. Discipline. That's something a lot of people don't have either. So I don't know what to say. If you don't have those things, you got to learn how to develop it somehow. If you've created a lifelong of bad habits, surely the longer the habit goes on, the harder it is to break. But man, hold on, you guys. I don't know. Was this story here before? Are they making fun of us right now? Was this story here before? Man's life was transformed by helping a dog find his forever home. It's 201. Come on, man. I've been telling you guys that those commercials that they got out. What is it? The farmer's dog. That hey, by the way, if you have pets, I'm all for feeding your pet the best diet you can afford to feed it. I'm all for that. These farmer's dog ads. It's the right idea of feeding your dog better food. My friend Token Tim, he was a chef. He always made his dog's name was Worm. He was like a little hound dog. But I think he claims that every single meal he made for Worm, and if that's true, that's mind blowing because he had the dog for nearly 20 years. I got to think there's like at least a time or two but I did always see him cooking for his dog. He always made his dog food, and he'd mix up like a little veggie with usually something like ground beef or ground chicken or ground turkey. So his dog ate very well, and his dog lived very long. I mean, almost 20 years in dog years is, they say, what, that's 140 in human years. But again, I keep bringing up the point about these ads, though, that they're having the farmer's dog, how they're all kind of along the same. They're like supposed to be a humorous theme of, it's kind of like you're at the house with the date, and the date opens up your fridge, and she's like, "Why do you got dog food in the fridge?" and then it's like the date's thrown out of the house, and then it's a new camera shot of the person getting all cuddly with their dog. In a way, it's just like, okay. Again, you guys, it's where they got humanity go. You can't procreate with your dog. And I always think about how Fox News, like back in the early 2000s, when the big debate in the early 2000s was, should gay people be allowed to get married like heterosexual people? And really, I think they should. I think any two people who love each other should be able to get married and get all the legal rights that a married couple has, some tax privileges, hospital situations, death situations. Again, I don't know how that doesn't fit in with freedom. Do I think people should be marketed to be gay and make gay seem like it's the coolest thing ever, like they're doing now? No. But I've always thought that gay people should be able to marry. But anyway, that was the big debate in the early 2000s. And I just remember always back then, Fox News, especially like Bill O'Reilly, he'd be saying, if you allow the gay marriage, next thing you know, people are going to be having sex with their dogs. It's going to be bestiality. And I always thought that was the dumbest argument back then, because I was like, okay. Yeah. Again, I've always thought that unless you were raped as a child and learned to like anal sex, because you learned to like that feeling, it became part of your life. And that does happen to a lot of people who were raped as children, as boys who were sexually abused. I mean, that's common. I've always thought, unless it's that, or you're born that way, that there's no way any other guy would choose to be gay. Because just as a guy who's not gay, it's like, I have never once looked at any guy and be like, ooh, man, I'd like to have a romantic night with him. I mean, that's just never happened. But women, it's natural, right? And when you're in a relationship, you have to discipline yourself as a man, because unless your woman doesn't care. But I mean, even when you're in a relationship, attractive women come by, it's like there's a part of you inside. It's like, ooh, man, she's a woo. But you got to be loyal to your woman. Again, but the point I'm making is just, natural attraction between man and woman. That is the most natural way. Within nature, is there some homosexuality? It seems that there is. But yeah, it's just crazy how in the last 20 years, it started as like that was the debate and the Matthew Shepard killing story. Those were kind of conversations. And the way I just felt back then is, yeah, you shouldn't kill people because they're gay. And if gay people want to get married, I don't see why not. I really don't see the downside. Okay, they're not going to have any kids. Do we say that if you get married, you have to have kids? What about all the married couples that never had kids? Should they not have been able to marry? I mean, I just always thought those were bad arguments. But it is crazy, just again, how in the last 20 years it's gone from that, which felt like fair talking points and conversations that also to me seemed like they had logical conclusions, to now it's like it's gone illogical. And now you see how it's an agenda. And now it's like it's really pushing the idea. It's hard to watch anything on TV or in movie where there's not like a lead homosexual couple. I remember that show that HBO put out that everyone was watching, The Last of Us or something. I mean, there was like a whole episode of two gay men in the bed together all episode. It was just like, whoa, a 50-minute episode of like gay sex. I mean, I guess Game of Thrones had come out a decade earlier and it really pushed the whole gay sex thing too. That's what I noticed when everyone was so crazy about Game of Thrones. The one thing that had my eyebrow up about that show is I just noticed, I was like, I've never seen a show that has this much gay sex. And again, it led a change in Hollywood because it's just everywhere now. It's just, and sure, maybe occasionally it's like back in the day, you had Ellen DeGeneres. She was like the gay person on TV. She represented, gay people are out here. And look, we're not. I mean, a lot of people liked Ellen when she first came out. She was kind of funny, but we see how her career ended with a sacrifice of people on this. Anyway, just getting off on all different kinds of tangents. But what are the odds that they got a 2-minute and 1 second story up about a man and a dog? Sharon Stone lost $18 million after stroke. She's the one that did the scene, bare and all, right? With the legs spread. I'm pretty sure that was Sharon Stone back in the day. Daughter of Jennifer Garner. I mean, our whole, it really is Team America World Police. Film Actors Guild rules the world. Daughter of Jennifer Garner makes impassioned plea for public face masks. Why do we care? I mean, why does Jennifer Garner's daughter's completely idiotic opinion matter? With the female, oh my God. You see what the shirt is? Do you guys recognize what the shirt that she's wearing? That's the character from the other HBO show about like they're supposed to be like the Murdoch family. Sort of like that, a spinoff. Powerful Media Family. Succession. And then the main girl's name is Shiv, which is a dagger. And the way the show ends is she sticks the dagger in her family's back and ruins the empire. Yeah, the woman named Shiv ruins the whole. She sells out the whole family. Oh my God. Yeah, I hate these people, you guys. I hate it. Violet Affleck. What, is she married to Ben? Is it Ben Affleck's child? I don't keep up with all this. Or Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck together? They must have been. Violet Affleck, the 18-year-old daughter of Ben Affleck. There it is. And Jennifer Garner is opening up about a medical condition that has impacted her life. The teen spoke during the public comments portion of a Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors meeting and is seen making an impassioned plea in a video shared on X. Affleck, who is seen wearing a mask, began by introducing herself as Violet Affleck, Los Angeles resident, first-time voter, and 18. She says, I contracted a post-viral condition in 2019. She said, I'm okay now, but I saw firsthand that medicine does not always have answers to the consequences of even minor viruses. She went on to say that the COVID-19 pandemic has thrown that into sharper relief. 1 in 10 infections leads to long COVID, which is a devastating neurological and cardiovascular illness that can take away people's ability to work, see, move, and even think, Affleck said. See, I didn't want to get into this, but just for the people who are more severely impacted, almost all of them are very old or largely very unhealthy people that already have all kinds of medical problems that are mostly brought on from having a shit diet. And I'm pretty sure that these 1 in 10, I'm pretty sure that if they correct, I could be wrong about this, but I'm going to make the assumption that if they corrected and lived a more healthy lifestyle and corrected their diet, they might also see their 1 in 10 problem go away too. Yeah, again, it's just if their SPARS 2025 simulation is the next thing they got up their sleeve, it's going to be real annoying to watch us go through an even more exaggerated version of what we just went through. At some point they're going to do it again. I'm just hoping it's at least 25 years away and not 2025. But wow. Thank you, CNN, for covering Violet Affleck's concern that we should all wear masks. I mean, again, I guess it's not nice, and some women really don't like it, but there is a reason, like the line, if we were in the 90s and we would have read that, we would have been like, I guess maybe not because it's a woman, but if a guy said that, I know what we would have said. We would have said, what a pussy. And again, I mean, that is what we were saying all through the whole COVID pandemic. And I was modeling everywhere why you shouldn't get any experimental jabs and you shouldn't wear any slave muzzles. And you should go out every day and speak out against the tyranny because that's all it was. And you know what? If you're so afraid of the 99.9% survivable illness, if you're a normal person, then you're surely a pussy. We had to shut down the nation for a bunch of pussies. And then we invented the term Karen because it's more PC than pussy. Now we say, oh, that person's a Karen. Before they were just a pussy. It's like, shut up, pussy. Now it's like, shut up, Karen. But yeah, again, in the 90s, we might not have been as nice with our words. We might have been calling people pussies and 3-letter words that started with F and had a middle letter A and ended with G. But again, it was also a lot better time. People were a lot healthier, a lot less emotional, still had a sense of humor, weren't getting bullied half as much as we are today by the government. Seemed like more people had a backbone. It's just the world's really fallen off in the last 30 some years. And I think it's been falling off since before that. But I mean, it's been really bad, especially about since it turned 2001. All right. Thank you, Sound Mental. Yeah, in the age of information, there's no excuse for ignorance. I completely agree. I completely agree. Yeah, it's just, I mean, nobody ever had to wear a mask. Nobody ever had to wear a mask. I'm sorry. I didn't do anything. Your jab didn't do anything besides harm you either. Had you taken our advice, you would have been a lot better off. We would have all protested and rallied against the tyranny. There wouldn't have been any lockdowns. No mom and pops would have lost their shop. The Bill Gateses and Jeff Bezos wouldn't have gained a market share in the world and everything. Again, we were the only people really on the right side of history, and the ones that still haven't figured it out, they still haven't figured it out. Like my sister still thinks she's the one that's in the right. See, that's the problem too with the people who are unwilling to be honest about things. I mean, my sister should know by now that she's not in the right. She's getting sick all the time. She's been horribly sick several times now. And what bothers me about my sister too is I had this revelation about health and food. And from what I learned when I was a teen, I was really concerned about my sister, and I reached out to her right away, and I had her listening for a little bit, but her husband was a doctor at the time, and I was a teenager in college. Again, my sister's quite a bit older than me. She's 12 years older than me. But he essentially said that, I was wrong. But my sister back then, all she ate was meat, cheese, and bread. And I was reading that, that kind of diet was, very carcinogenic, very likely to lead to illness, cancer, all kinds of unnecessary stuff. And I was sending her all the stuff I was reading back then about how important it is to get, these vegetables with these cleaning agents in your diet, and why this has to be a considerable part of your diet. It's like it's cleansing your body. And, my sister, she ended up getting, funny enough, my sister, she got cancer at age 44. And, she had to get the chop to her chest, like a lot of women do. Or actually, maybe she didn't, but that's what the medical world does. And it was messed up because then her husband left her right after. And I felt like, come on, man, you can't leave her a year after a cancer battle and going through that surgery. But my sister, man, she always just been so hard-headed and just never admits that she's wrong. Just like my mom. She's identical to my mom. They're both right about everything. But yeah, my sister, she's still telling her kids that their uncle's schizophrenic. It's just like, I'm schizophrenic, Jen? When have I ever been schizophrenic? I'm the same person that like was there. Part of the reason, you guys, we're from the Portland area. I had to move up to Seattle at some point because I just couldn't have any of my own life. I just was helping her raise her kids all the time, over there for everything every single day, and I just needed a little bit of my own life. So I had to get a few hours away, and I think she always resented me for moving and not helping out as much, but. Not the way she paid thanks to me years later is by telling her kids I was schizophrenic because of what I figured out. And it's like, she hasn't figured out that I'm the healthy one and I'm not the one, that's now coming down with severe flu and being sick for a month in the middle of summer. I wonder why that's happening to you. And you know what makes me sad too, Truth Seeker, is, there's probably going to be a day in the future. I'm not going anywhere. Sadly, there'll probably be a day in the future where I'm talking about how sad I am that my sister's now passed away. And her and I never got to have a real conversation about anything because she would never listen. All she would do was insult and automatically assume she was right and I was some whack job while she got jab after jab until she jabbed herself away. The flu just got too bad the next summer. No, it's like I feel bad about that. And even knowing that that's likely going to be the future, sadly, that's probably exactly how it's going to play out too. Because she's so hard-headed, I can't get her to listen to anything. Like I said, she says I'm schizophrenic for the things I'm showing, which are adding up in spades. My sister represents a lot of hard-headed people in this world. Think they're right, can't admit they're wrong. No amount of evidence seems to change anything. It's sad. Thank you again, Paula. I appreciate that. And shout out to Nathan as well. Thank you also. Okay. All right. I'm taking a screenshot here. I'm going to look at this front page more, see if there's any other little gems they got in there today. Here, we'll do one more quick scan of what's in the news, then we'll wrap it up. Biden and Zelensky, ultimate 201 ritual this year. More mockery. Biden calls Zelensky President Putin on world stage ahead of high stakes press conference. I mean, come on, man. I'm sure it was the script, you guys. I wouldn't be surprised if that's literally what was written on his teleprompter. Call him President Putin. We need that headline tonight. Builds onto our well-planned narrative. Man, it's just stupid. And yeah, oh my God. All of it's so stupid. Let me see. MSNBC. Kamala and Joe. Biden's re-election is now a high-risk situation. Remember that the new data from today is that they did an experimental poll and it showed that Kamala was polling higher than Joe, 49% to 46%. Again, she's the 49th VP, he's number 46. Kamala Harris 49. It's amazing how they just get away with obviously contriving everything every single day. BBC, how are they covering it? Biden introduces Zelensky as Putin before high-stakes news conference. Remember, Zelensky, he comes from the Ukrainian Hollywood. He made the show about his future presidency before it happened. We were covering that big time way back when. But, yeah, it probably literally is what was on the teleprompter for him to read it like that. That's the story they need tonight. Just out of curiosity, Putin's birthday is October 7th. That's the day leaving 85 days left in the year. Today's 193. So what is that? 278 days after his birthday? Let me see. Putin's birthday is the day the war began in Israel. Yeah, it's 278 days. That means it's 88 days to his upcoming birthday. He'll turn 72. Vladimir's got that 88. Yeah, I don't know if it's that important, the number ritual. It's just It's just obvious. It's the same script. Whole pod of 77 whales die in biggest mass stranding in decades. That kind of stuff is that kind of stuff is sad, man. And again, while they always just stay focused on climate change, it's like, well, the ocean's just all full of shit. I think that's like if they really wanted us to care about the earth, I think they'd just spend more time showing on what's going on in the ocean, all the garbage and trash and animals that die from it. But the reason they don't do that, you guys, is because they don't have a alternative for packaging for the consumer food society we have. You know, ocean's all full of all kinds of packaging, things that hold the bottles together, all that stuff. Super hazardous for the animals in the ocean, but they don't want to do anything about that because they don't have any plan to change their the agricultural system where they control the 5 corporations that make all the different foods that fill up every grocery store that's owned by 1 of 3 companies and pretty much all of the land. And really, the only solution I could really say that we could ever have, if we, I guess the way you could be a consumer society and not fill up the world with trash is if everybody just shopped in the bulk section and everybody used like reusable containers, like you're bringing in your Tupperware, you're filling up your rice, you're getting just fruits and vegetables, but you're not putting in plastic bags. You're just putting it in your sack that you reuse, your washable sack. And honestly, I mean, I think we should do those things. I was saying stuff like that 20 years ago. I thought that was a sensible thing to do. I was like, why don't they make a push for that? It's because there's no money in that. There's so many businesses that would be put out that are part of this Ponzi scheme they got going. Like boxing and packaging is a huge industry. You put out so many essential companies they need would just be up shit's creek without a paddle. But yeah, that's why this system that we built, it was in a way, it was like a massive Ponzi scheme that was. It's like it's existed by pushing the burdens down the river, so that like unborn generations will have to weigh the greatest toll of it all. But yeah, if we just went back to an agricultural society, if we made pledges like that. General Mills and Kellogg certainly don't want that. That wouldn't help out General Mills and Kellogg and all these companies. I mean, fast food, how are you going to do that if all of a sudden it's illegal to have packaging around food that unless it's reusable? The whole food landscape would have to shift. But seriously, they want to talk about saving the earth. I mean, it seems like that's what they got to do. So, okie dokie. Yeah. No, trust me. I know I'm right about it. It's because these companies that run the nation. I mean, it's like McDonald's. I mean, look how powerful they are. They have, probably every town in America that has a population of at least 1,000 people, which is a lot of towns. It's probably very rare if there's not a McDonald's in that town. It is fast food nation, and McDonald's, changed the landscape, and potato farmers and these companies get so big that they just shift markets and way of life. And one way it is nice, you're getting this really convenient food, fresh, ready to go, hot. Once you're done, you don't have to do the dishes; you just throw it all in the garbage can. But yeah, there's consequences to that. Yeah, it was easier. But what were, again, in business school, you learn the word is externalities. What was the externality of eating at the fast food restaurant? You threw a whole bunch of garbage in the can. So the one thing I could say about myself is I have been talking about these ideas for 20 years. For a while, I was only buying, when I was younger and lived in Seattle, I used to just always walk to the store and just buy everything in the bulk section. And that's pretty much how my whole thing was. So I did create almost no garbage other than like, corn on the vegetable and fruit pills, this kind of stuff. So it is manageable if you live in the right place. I used to live 2 blocks from the grocery store. I could walk there in 5 minutes and back. And at the time I was pretty much a pure vegan, so it was very easy to just shop in the bulk in the produce section. But what I was going to say is I was actually going to criticize myself. I was going to say for being aware of this thing for 20 years, like sometimes I think I've been saying this for a while, and I bet at some point in my life I will just do it, you guys. That there'll be a point where I'm like, you know what, or maybe not. maybe we'll change the world. But if I'm becoming older and grayer, and it's 10 years from now, and we still been grinding, and the world's just getting worse, but we're still here breathing, I'm just gonna be like, you know what, you guys, the only thing left to do is that we all just got to figure out a way to take care of our agriculture and farm and grow our own food and just try to live the most right natural lifestyle like our ancestors. I think honestly, if I was doing that right now, I would be a lot happier person. If I woke up in the morning and I knew I just had to go work the field and take care of the food and make sure the gophers didn't eat everything up or whatever it entails. I just feel like that would be a very rewarding life, and it would be nice just knowing that, yeah, I know where my food came from. I know what's actually on it. I know this is truly organic. I know that when I'm eating, there's nothing. Well, actually, asterisk. Again, we live in a world that's toxic, right? I mean, they're spraying weird shit in the sky. There's stuff in the soil because it's just been spread all over this world from big agro. But still, I mean, all things good and bad. The way you can know the most about your food is if you're growing it. You might still be contending with the chemicals in this world, and I'm sure you will be, but ultimately it would be better. And I just see that someday I would like to do that, like model how to really make it happen. Piece of land, growing food, supporting yourself, helping your neighbors. Like just picking cherries the other day. It blew me away because Sweet Lady and I picked from 4 different trees. And literally, guys, probably at least 50 pounds in cherries. Maybe there was a 5th tree that we got a little bit from at the end, but we were late in the cycle, and a lot of the cherries had already dried up. They were no good anymore, but there were still plenty of good ones on the tree. And we didn't bring a ladder, so we couldn't reach the ones high up in the tree. But it just made me realize how just a handful of trees, how much food they can produce. I mean, there was way more. Had we picked that in the optimal time between those 5 trees, there probably would have been, I don't even know, hundreds of pounds of cherries. And that is a lot of food. We gave tons to all these different neighbors, and we still had a bunch left. I mean, we still have some in the fridge. But yeah, nature does provide. If you had a nice plot of land and you really took care of it, I mean, you could create a lot of food for yourself, for others. And to me, that just, I've always liked being outside. I enjoy pulling weeds, as funny as that sounds. I like mowing the lawn. I don't mind working outside. I feel like a human being when I'm doing that. It feels like therapy. And again, it's just the way we used to live. We used to be agricultural people, not dependent on others, self-sufficient. Somehow we got to bring it all back. Instead of living in this world where it's all controlled and we're mocked and made fun of by a ruling class that lives off of our tax dollars, keeps us going along with their schemes by lying to us every day, making fools of us. All right. Anyway, I'm talking in circles. Thanks again to everyone who hits the like and the share. Thank you to everyone who supports the work. And until next time, True Seeker.